All you party people, I am just making sure that we are showing up in the Facebook group here. Welcome to this class. I'm super excited about this one and everything that's to come after this. Good, we are showing up in Facebook. So I'm going to be doing a screen share on this one. So that means that I might not be seeing your questions as you ask them this time because the screen share, when I go to my keynote presentation, it blocks everything. So ask questions, please. I will answer them. It just might not be until the end of the presentation when I'm able to actually see those and get to them. So without further ado, let's get this presentation started. We are talking about evergreen content today and how you can use evergreen content to grow your business. So let me jump on over to my slides. And so those should be showing on the screen now. So evergreen content, creating irresistible content to generate massive traffic to your website or blog. What in the heck is evergreen content, right? Before we get into the how, let's talk about the what. So evergreen content is content that is of long-lasting interest. So it's not dated, it's not time sensitive, it's not talking about what happened on The Bachelor last night, it's not talking about what you think is going to happen in your next episode of your favorite show on TV. It's something that's going to be lasting for a really, really long time. Timeless stuff, right? It's useful to a wider than average set of readers. This isn't necessarily a definition that a lot of people would give to evergreen content, but I think if you try and create like those really epic pieces, if you try and pull in people that, might be a little bit on the fringe of who you have to offer your product to, you might still catch a couple extra fish in your net, and they might share it to more people. It might have a little bit more tendency to go viral. So if you just think a slightly bigger than your normal niche, it might help your evergreen content. And the other really important part about evergreen content is that it's keyword rich, so that it's easily found by search engines. And we're not just talking about Google, although Google is super important, but Pinterest is becoming a search engine. Other websites where people might share your content, it would get pulled up by them when they're searching. So keyword rich. Now let's talk about a couple of definitions. What the heck are keywords? Well, keywords are the words that someone would type into a search engine like Google when they're looking for content like yours. So if you're going to search for, say, chocolate cake recipes, you type in chocolate cake or best chocolate cake or 20-minute chocolate cake, or, the long tail keywords you hear people talk about are ones like 20-minute chocolate cake, no frosting, like something that has a lot of words in the keywords. Keywords can be multiple words long. It doesn't just have to be cake or chocolate. So that usually you'll find that the longer tail keywords you go after, the easier it is to rank for those, which makes sense because there's so many options. And if you've seen these graphs that Google does, obviously the most people will search for cake, but that long tail at the end, the reason they call them long tail keywords is the graph kind of comes down at the end and it never approaches zero. Like they never run out of variations of things that people search for. So don't be afraid to use your main keyword, chocolate cake, in a bunch of different ways in your article. Now, you don't want to sound spammy and overuse it and say chocolate cake every sentence, but, say the best chocolate cake, my mama's chocolate cake, make sure you mix in a variety of different keywords in your pieces. The other term we want to talk about is SEO, which is search engine optimization. This is the process of making your site as easy to find and rank by Google as possible. Having keyword-rich evergreen content on your website does help with SEO because it helps Google to find you. There's a lot of other really technical things that you can get into about how fast your site loads, having alt text, the text that explains what's happening in an image, having the right header tags, these sorts of things. But just be aware that optimizing your website for search not only involves those super techie backend things that you may or may not even understand, but it also involves the kind of content you put on there and how you structure that particular content. So let's talk about for a minute what isn't evergreen content. So we kind of highlighted some of this stuff a little earlier, but I just wanted to make sure we were really clear. News stories are not evergreen. You've heard the term old news. Well, that applies to your content too. Stories about studies, research, or statistics, while they might be appealing to write and kind of fun to delve into those statistics if you're into that sort of thing, research changes, people come up with new inventions and new ideas all the time. So while it might feel weighty because you're talking about usually scientific or studies or academic kind of things, usually this is not evergreen content. Posts about seasonal topics and holidays are generally not the evergreen kind, but certain holidays, especially Christmas people, oh my gosh, don't even get me started. I'm not a huge Christmas fan because I hate all the commercialism associated with it. But because of that, now Christmas stuff starts appearing in the stores before Halloween sometimes, which is just, it boggles my mind. But, it might not be a keyword heavy evergreen post that you can use all year, but that would be at least 3 months that you're getting out of it for a bigger holiday. So it's not something you have to avoid 100%, but I would start by investing my time into things that aren't seasonal or holiday related. Finally, posts about things that change frequently, such as fashion or like the latest iPhone or computer models. Obviously, that's not evergreen. Fashion changes at least twice a year with the spring and fall collections. Computer models change so fast nowadays. Phones are changing all the time. Even apps get upgraded, and even writing about something as simple as like how to do things in Photoshop, like those instructions could change from year to year as Photoshop gets updated. So those kind of things, while they might be good to have on your website for some things, just don't count on them to be evergreen. So how to create evergreen content. This slide does not belong here. That's a duplicate one. Okay. What platforms can you use? Well, you can use your website or your blog, which is obviously the most, the one you were thinking about when we talk about creating evergreen content. But evergreen content can also be video or audio. And video, as you might know by all the studies that are coming out, is becoming more and more important way to drive traffic to your site. They say that Google is the second most used search engine, that's crazy. And so especially if you have how-to kind of evergreen content, we'll talk about all the different kinds of evergreen content you can offer in a bit, but how-to does really well on video, because think about it. If you're looking on how to do something that, would involve kind of watching someone or would be hard to draw out or explain with words, where do you start your search for that? Do you actually Google it, or do you go straight to YouTube so you can watch somebody do it? So if it's the kind of thing that you would watch someone do and put it on video automatically, like that should be the first place you put it. But then consider making videos for everything. And we'll talk a little bit more about repurposing content in a bit too. But definitely keep video top of mind as you're thinking about how you're going to be creating that evergreen content for your site and your brand. So what kind of content is evergreen? Well, keyword-rich, long-form content. So we talked about what keywords are. So keyword-rich means there's a ton of keywords in that content. Long-form content would mean that it's not just a 400-word post. Usually long-form, there's varying definitions across the web, but at least maybe 1,500 words. Sometimes some people do like 5,000-word posts that are just epic. Neil Patel is really, really good. And if you have any questions about, anything internet marketing related, he's a great guy to look up. Neil Patel, Patel. Anyways, really long stuff. And so it might be that you start putting out less content, but better content if you're going to start aligning your content marketing strategy with putting out evergreen content. FAQ lists, either lists or individual articles addressing frequently asked questions. How do you find those frequently asked questions? Well, you can visit Facebook groups and see what questions people are asking in there that are about your topic. You can go to websites like Quora or Reddit. And you can even do that thing in Google where you start typing in the sentence and then see what Google pops up at the end. There's also other websites that you can use to kind of find out what questions people have about those sort of things. But starting off at like Quora and Reddit are usually great places. And bonus, and we're going to talk about this a little later again, but you can answer those questions with your content on those forums and get double duty out of your evergreen content and save somebody's day, right? Other evergreen content. How-to content about something people commonly struggle with. And one tip that I want to give you about this is if you start your article or title your article, how I blah, 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 especially for Pinterest traffic, they want to see how you did something. Like Pinterest skews a little more female. I'm not sure if that has anything to do with that, how I, just because women tend to be a little bit more socially connected than men do. So that might not be the same on other platforms. But I saw a study the other day that said how I blah, blah, blah posts did far better than ones that are just how to blah, 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 that were not personal. So adding in that I, at least consider coming up with a version. Quick tip here. Most people think that when they come up with an image to put on Pinterest about their article, they come up with one, like a one and done. Okay, that's it. Throw it on Pinterest. We're done here. Well, that doesn't have to be the case. So keep in mind that you can play with different concepts in your images. So you might change the title. You might have a quote instead of, you know, the title of the article itself. You might only include part of the title. You might hint at it. Feel free to not be strict to your title in your image creation. So most people don't think about that. What other content is evergreen? Lists. And so top 10 lists, and this could be not only lists of your ideas, but it can be lists of, you know, collections of things, top 10 videos, top 10 funniest videos, top 10 most useful websites about blah, blah, blah. And then also content addressing client pain points is also evergreen. So this would be, you know, something that people are struggling with, and you come in and save the day and, hey, I thought about this. Here's how you work around this. Now, one cool thing I want to tell you about right now is that tomorrow, Jen Williams and I are doing a special 4-part series, and I'll post the link in this group. I'll actually post, well, it's posted in the group already, so just find that schedule, and I'll repin that in a minute. But we are doing a 4-part series, and we are covering in depth 4 different ways that you can create evergreen content. And some of these, as you can see from that kind of schedule, are on there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about lists and the content addressing client pain points, and then the keyword rich posts, and kind of give you a little bit more in-depth how to and ideas about kind of headlines and how to, you know, expand your thinking around these. So that's going to be a really great series. Tune in tomorrow on International Women's Day. Women, we're going to build your businesses. So yeah, be here tomorrow too. Finally, repurposing content. I hinted that we were going to talk about this a little bit later. So what is repurposing content? Well, repurposing content is taking content that you've written, so ideally in this case an evergreen post, and then making it do double duty. So you spread it around the web in different ways. Repurposing content, there's a bunch of different ways you can do that. One, transcribe your videos. Most people, again, think that they make a video and they're done. Well, that's not necessarily true. Number one, transcribing your video makes it accessible to a wider audience of people. People that might have vision or hearing problems can benefit greatly from having transcriptions. So think of them when you create stuff. Also, if you put all the content, all the transcription of your video in the, like if you write a blog post and you have your video included in that and you have the transcript, guess what you just created? You created, most likely, a keyword-rich, long-form post. And you didn't really do much extra work because you don't have to transcribe it yourself. There are services that, you know, charge you like $1 a minute to transcribe your video, and that's like a bargain. Think of how much time it would take you to transcribe your video and how much you should be earning an hour, and then figure out if it's worth it or not to pay somebody else to do that. But there are places that do it really, really cheap. You might even be able to find somebody for less on a website like Fiverr, but definitely consider transcribing your videos. Next, divide your evergreen content into pieces and spread them around to lure people to your site via platforms like Twitter and Instagram. So what does this mean? Find the most useful quotes and take those out and use those as the teasers or hints as to what your post is about. So on Twitter, you would like just put the quote and then, you know, the link to the site. And then on Instagram, you would just make a pretty picture that has the quote in there, also with a link in your profile in Instagram. So again, you're not really doing much extra work. You already spent all the time creating the long form piece or the FAQ piece. Now you're just like taking little tiny nibbles of it and really leaving like a breadcrumb trail to your main site. So spread those. They say, throw joy or whatever around like confetti. Well, you are going to be spreading your evergreen content nibbles around like confetti around the interwebs. Write a good article. Awesome. Turn it into a video. You can also easily turn your podcast into videos or your videos into podcasts. So we talked earlier a little bit about this. But anytime you spend all that time researching the information that you need to create a really, really good written blog post or written article on your website, just take a little bit extra time and record that as a video or put that onto a podcast. Now, this whole easily turn your podcast into videos or your videos into podcasts, that videos into podcasts is what I do for the Mind Her Business show. You guys might have seen that. I produce it here on Facebook as a Facebook Live, and then I'll download that video. You can click the dot at the top right corner of your video, and that will bring down a download option. And so I just download every one, and then I just plug them into GarageBand. You can use probably free software to do this too. Ditch the video part, keep the audio part, and then just add the front end and the back end to it. And now I have a podcast. Did I do extra work? Yeah, a tiny bit, but that takes me 10 minutes if I'm feeling slow and mess up a lot on the outro. It takes basically no time at all. It almost takes me more time to download that completed file to my computer and then upload it into my website in the podcast area than it does for me to actually do the work of getting it together as a podcast. So try and figure out these little tiny ways that you can do a little extra work and then come up with a whole new way of people to experience and find not only your content, but you and your brand as well. Another way you can repurpose your content is to make it easy to share your evergreen content. So make sure you have those social share buttons. Make sure you have things like the tweet this links, and those that tweet this that you see on a lot of blogs where it like kind of puts a quote in bold and it has a link where it will just plug it right into your Twitter with the link to the site. You can get those for free. It has a little branding that says tweet this or whatever the company is, but it's not like offensive or obnoxious, and you can pay if you want to get rid of that. But these are free ways of making it easy for people to share. And the easier you make it for people to share, the more it's going to get shared, right? And not only that, but like how many people are people that do like skimming, right? People don't read full articles anymore. Another pro tip that you want to think about here is when you're writing those long form content posts, this is not high school or college grammar. This is not English 101. You don't want to have 3 to 5 sentence paragraphs. I know it might hurt you, like lit majors feelings, but you actually, two sentence paragraphs are a little bit long in internet world. So try and have each sentence or maybe 2 or 3 sentences, absolute max, be paragraphs. It just makes it easier because people are going to be skimming your article. It's just the way people are anymore. We have the attention spans of like goldfish or fruit flies. It's just reality, right? We're all busy people. So make it easy to skim by having those little short paragraphs and also breaking it up with those tweet this links. You are bolding something that's really important, right? You're not going to have somebody tweet a sentence that doesn't matter or that's not relevant to what it is you're talking about. It's like, that's the pithy, meaty stuff that you want people to tweet. And so if you have that bolded or somehow, designated or set apart on your site, if somebody like kind of is going through your really long form post, yada, skim. Oh, that's a good quote. Well, I should kind of go back a couple of paragraphs and a couple of paragraphs after that and read the context and like get back into your article. So it's a way to keep the people that are already on your site engaged as well as giving them a way to share it. I love those double whammy, 2 birds with 1 stone kind of things. The other thing that you can think about, and that's almost what we're doing here with this Evergreen class, is you teach a class about your most popular topics. You can also consider developing paid products on that subject. So if you have a post that's like an evergreen post that's getting a lot of traffic, then obviously people are interested in it, right? So maybe consider writing other articles about that same topic with a slightly different spin or, a different thought process behind them. And this kind of feels repetitive and it feels almost like cheating, but think about it. If you have, you've been blogging a while and you have a couple hundred articles on your website, are people actually going to go through and find that article that you wrote a year and a half ago on this topic? Probably not. And they're probably not going to see it. So if you write another similar article, like, once every couple of months or once a year, it's good. It's okay. Obviously, don't copy yourself because Google has duplicate content penalties. And so you don't want to just like cut and paste and repost. But talking about the same thing on a frequent basis, if you want to be known for that thing, you have to talk about it, and don't just assume that everyone's spending all the time it takes to find all your old stuff on your website. You need to keep shoving it in their face. But back to the teach a class. So if you have a topic that you're finding is super popular, you're going to want to teach a class on that. So teach a Facebook Live, hold a webinar, create an ebook, use that ebook as a lead magnet. Take that long form post, take a couple of words out, like turn into like a fill in the blank kind of workbook and do the presentation on it. And now you have, that kind of upgrade content that you can use to snag people's email addresses on your website. Like there's so many ways that you can reuse popular blog posts or videos and turn them into classes or even paid classes, like courses on those topics, because you've already tested the market to see if there's interest. And so if you get, hundreds or thousands of views on one of your posts every month, statistically, you could expect a certain percentage of those people to be willing to purchase a course on that topic, most likely. So don't discount that idea. The other thing we want to talk about is don't forget to remarket your evergreen content. And we talked about this just a second ago with writing new posts, but remarketing is kind of bringing new attention to old material. So repost links to your most popular content frequently. You'll see a lot of marketers doing this. It'll be like, I don't know, email marketing week on their content calendar. And so they'll go and dig up all the email marketing posts on their website. They might send you an email with, hey, have you seen this content? They might tweet those articles. Here's the other thing to think about. When you go on Pinterest, you're not seeing if that article that you are clicking on or pinning was published yesterday or 5 years ago. You see the content title and you're like, yes, that answers the question that I have. Yes, that intrigues me. And you go and read the article. So don't be afraid to post links to old stuff. Don't be afraid to tweet links to old stuff. Again, this is evergreen content. So the goal of this is there is no time frame. This is going to be just as valuable in 5 years as it is today. So don't be afraid to share that frequently. Another way you could do this is design new images and repost to Pinterest and Instagram. So we kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier when I said you can design a bunch of different images for one article. So this is intentionally doing that for old articles. So if you've been blogging a while and you have been pinning those things to Pinterest, or even linking to them on Instagram, just images that you've created for them, go and create new images. Or you can just repin the old ones if you're feeling kind of lazy this day. But you can also, like I said, design a different color and see how they do side by side. Do a split test with it. What happens if I bold this word? What happens if I have a blue background instead of an orange background? And have both of them running and circulating around Pinterest and creating interest on Instagram. Tweet it. People forget this, especially people like me that I don't fully appreciate or understand or identify with Twitter. I think I'm just at that like real cuspy generation that just like, I don't get it. But you have to try and tweet it anyways, because people are on Twitter. You don't have to get it, just do it. Other things, use your evergreen content. We talked about this earlier to answer questions on Facebook, Quora, Reddit. Reddit's a little bit more kind of enmeshed community, and they really, really hate people that are spammy or just get on there to try and link to their stuff. So Reddit's not as good for this strategy for good reason. Like, I respect that about them. But Quora, on the other hand, you can link a lot of that, like, because they ask how you know or your experience, right? And so go on to Quora, find people that are asking questions that you already asked or answered in your evergreen content, and answer their question in a paragraph. And then, like, for more information, see this article, or how do you know? Well, because I published an article about this and I've been studying this topic for 20 years. And then Facebook. So a lot of people ask questions on Facebook. Now you have to read the terms of the group that you're posting to, because some groups forbid this, but some groups are cool with it. Posting links as answers to people's questions. Always make sure that you include a paragraph or two actually answering the question, at least briefly. And then you can use your Evergreen post to answer it more fully if they need a little bit more information than you were able to provide in that 1 or 2 sentences. Next, you can include links in your emails and newsletters. So in your newsletters that you send out once a week, once a month, however often to your people, you can have a list of, have you seen this post, or, post about a certain topic, and just list, 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 or whatever. You can also use them in your email welcome sequences. This is really important. So if you have a new subscriber, so they downloaded your lead magnet, they just subscribed to your newsletter, instead of making them wait until the next newsletter episode comes out, or just kind of letting them languish on your list after they've subscribed to your lead magnet, send them an email welcome sequence. So this could be a collection of, 3, 5, 7, usually odd numbers tend to perform better for some reason. But send them kind of who you are, why you're doing what you're doing, informational content in that welcome sequence that corresponds to their interests. So if it was a lead magnet that they downloaded, give them a little bit more in-depth information about that topic, maybe link to a video series or just some way that you can educate them further on that topic, and then include some helpful posts about that topic. So if they downloaded a lead magnet about email marketing, then you're going to pull out your top 5 blog posts about email marketing and send them a link to that. Hey, if you want to learn any more, we talk about this a lot on my website, which establishes you as an authority figure. So that's a good thing too. And then include those in your email welcome sequences. Now, I mentioned just a little bit ago that we are coming up with a series, Jen Williams and I, to educate you on 4 easy ways to create evergreen content. And so we're going to do deep dives into these 4 different types of evergreen content. And it's all going to happen tomorrow. And they're all going to get released at, I believe it's 6 a.m. Pacific and 9 a.m. Eastern, I think was the agreed upon time, sometime in the morning tomorrow. We're going to push out all of these. And so you're going to kind of have this rabbit trail that you're following, where we're releasing the content on this particular Facebook group, the Mind Her Business group. We're also posting some on the Mind Her Business page, and then we're putting one in her group, and then we're putting one on her business page too. So we'll leave you the rabbit trail. Like I said, there's a post already with all the different links, and that'll all be available tomorrow. Part 1 is going to be about addressing client pain points. We're going to write evergreen content around that. Part 2, evergreen content, how to create evergreen content based on describing your products or services. That one's presented by me. Then Jen's going to come back on, Jen Williams. It sounds like I'm talking about myself. Jen's going to talk about this. Then Jen's going to talk about this. As an aside, my first roommate when I moved out of the house when I was in college, her name was Jen. And I always wanted to have our voicemail be like, hey, for Jen, press 1. To leave a message for Jen, press 2. And we never got around to doing it. But I always remember that when I work with another Jen. There's like 6 billion of us around. Anyways, create evergreen content using your niche keywords. We talked about this keyword-heavy long-form posts. That's what Jen's going to be talking about there. And then finally, I'm going to wrap it up with the top 10 lists to attract new customers. And we're going to get into using lists. I am also going to be offering a bonus download associated with that particular class. And you can write down this link. It won't be live until tomorrow. It doesn't exist yet, but I have a list idea generator worksheet that I'm going to be giving out. And so that will have this kind of mix and match, first words, and you insert your topic here, and then end words, and that will just give you hundreds of different combinations, maybe even thousands. I haven't done the maths on this, but there's a ton of content there. Like it's a full notebook, 3 columns worth of words kind of thing that I'm creating into this worksheet. And so you'll be able to just come up with these content ideas for these evergreen posts in like 30 seconds just by picking one set of words from one list, inserting your topic here, and then finishing it up with other words from the secondary list. So if you're feeling stuck, this list idea generator worksheet is going to be a lifesaver for you. So I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to go back to the presentation. I'm going to see if anyone has any questions, which nobody has. So if there aren't any questions at this time, I'm going to wrap up this broadcast. If you do end up having questions, you can always comment on this post and I will come back from time to time and check that out. You know, Facebook notifies you about everything, right? And so I'll be able to know that somebody commented and I'll answer that for you. I hope to see you guys tomorrow as we do our treasure hunt through me and Jen Williams' sites and teach you all these cool ways that you can create evergreen content. I will see you then. Thanks.